Adamantly Analog, episode 64. Games. This week, we're talking about food games with our guest, Stan Kordonskiy. Hello and welcome to Adamantly Analog, episode 64, the only podcast that records without hitting the record button. I'm your host, Corey Murphy.
I'm your other host, Harrison Dunn.
And we've got a guest today, Milwaukee legend Stan Kordonskiy, designer, developer, and publisher. How are you doing, Stan?
I'm doing great. Very excited to be here.
Great to get to talk to you. We've been doing this podcast for over a year now, and we've been thinking, man, we gotta get Stan on. He's like the royalty of Milwaukee designers, and it's like we gotta represent our city in the great things happening here. So I'm happy we finally made it happen.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Totally glad to be here. I don't know about royalty, but I'll take any compliment you want to throw my way.
Yeah, well, you've got quite a few bangers under your name there, and I'm sure we'll get to talk about those in our interview portion up front. But we're having you on to join us on the podcast today, where we'll talk about food games, dinner games, games about food. What is it, Harrison?
Yeah, it's food games. It's games. I don't know. Just talk about food. It's a fun thing.
Okay. And we're recording this at like 4:40, so we're just like getting ideas for what to cook as soon as we get off the call too. Which for me is going to be leftovers, but you guys can do better than that, I'm sure. But let's start with just a little bit of get to know Stan for those that aren't familiar. Would you mind just introducing yourself?
Sure. I'm Stan Kordonskiy, and I live in Milwaukee. I've lived in Milwaukee for a long time, and I've been in the board game business for almost 10 years now, about 9-10 years all told. And I started off just kind of doing a little bit of a freelance design for fun, and then it grew into designing pretty regularly, and then that grew into some development gigs, and then eventually I started a small company, self-publishing. I have so far self-published 2 games, Resurgence and Nova Roma, and I'm working on number 3 soon, so still going strong.
I see Board Game Geek lists your first game as 2018's Dice Hospital. If that's accurate,
Yep.
is that also your first design, or were there a bunch of designs before that? This is the first one to get published.
That is the first one I designed with. That was the first complete design. I've toyed with some games prior to that, but I've never taken them to the completion. Dice Hospital was the first game that I designed beginning to the end. I wrote the rule book, and I created a prototype of it, which I put on Game Crafter in like 2016-ish. I think I did that. And then that game was discovered by Alley Cat Games out of UK, who contacted me on offer to purchase a license to make that game, because I didn't know what to do with it. So I was just going to leave it on Game Crafter as kind of like a fun thing that I did. And then when they offered to publish it, it sort of opened my eyes that there were other ways to get your game made, other than just like putting it out there for an individual to stumble on. So that was my first design. It came out in 18, but it got signed in like, I think 16 maybe, because it took them about half a year to get it to Kickstarter, and then like another year or so after the Kickstarter to deliver it. So yeah, that's why I'm counting my official career from like 2016-ish, even though my first game didn't come out till 18.
Wow, that's really cool. So you put it up on Game Crafter. You didn't have any aspirations to get picked up by a publisher at the time, or just like whatever happens, happens, and someone reached out to you and said, let's do this?
Yeah, because I didn't really know how it works, and it seemed to me that there's like a separate class of like board game designers, and those are the people who design board games. They get put in the store. And then if you were just a normal person that wanted to make a game, the closest you could come is to just put it on something like Game Crafter. And I was thinking, oh, this is really cool. Like they have this whole website. You can just put your game on, and like you kind of feel like you kind of made a game. But I realized it was just for fun. I didn't realize like any person could write an email to a publisher with a board game design. I thought maybe you had to have some sort of degree or I don't know, connection or
Yeah.
history, something to get you in. I didn't realize just how wide open the doors really were at the time. So once I realized, hey, people actually scouted me out, it gave me a lot of confidence to go and seek out publishers because I thought surely if they would reach out to me when I reach out to them, that just makes their job easier.
That's cool. Nice.
That's a great story, and good note for anyone out there who's interested in board game design. You don't have to be special. You can just be a normal guy like Stan.
Yep. Yeah, I don't
Come
have
on, Pearson.
any I don't have any special training in any kind of design. I'm a registered nurse by day, and I've been a registered nurse, for a lot longer than I've been board game designer. So that's sort of my professional career, and it doesn't cross over at all. The only thing you can see is that Dice Hospital is a game about a hospital.
Awesome.
So because they
Wow.
say write what you know, so I wrote,
Mhm.
I made a game about the one topic I knew something about it, which is working at the hospital. Um, However, I learned by doing. I learned by doing, and we live in the age of information. There's lots of resources, lots of videos and how-tos and articles and talks. So you can just teach yourself how to do this better and trial and error. 10 years later, I've made some stuff that I'm, relatively proud of. So.
Awesome.
Cool. You want to give us a little insight into your process? Do you like starting with theme first or mechanics?
Yeah, so it kind of changed for me a little bit. It was really up and down for me in the beginning, where because I didn't know where to start. Sometimes I would start at one end, sometimes I start at the other. Sometimes I would come up with like a cool mechanic and then think about what would be the theme that makes sense for it. But recently, I've noticed I started thinking about themes a lot more. Themes became a lot more important to me, and I don't know exactly when it happened, but lately I have a hard time just imagining kind of like a disembodied mechanic by itself. I usually start thinking,
Hmm.
what would be a fun game about? Like what game hasn't been made yet, or maybe they have been made, but in what way can I make this game with this theme that would be different? And that's a starting point for me now. So I'm definitely gonna say that I switched to being theme first. That's what gets me excited. Where I definitely remember early in my career, I was more concentrated on mechanical parts of the game, both as a player and as a designer, because when someone would say, "Would you like to play this game?" I would just want to know how you operate the game. And if it sounded like fun, what you did in it, then I would be interested. And I did not really care if it was like a brown euro or if it was cartoonish or if it was childish looking. If it sounded like fun mechanically, I would be all in. So
Hmm.
that's been a bit of a shift for me now. And I think I just have this desire to make a theme that connects with people and not just have mechanics be the only attraction, but also have a theme that people can really identify with or have fun with.
Yeah, I would describe your games as like very, very mechanical Euro games with heavy theme embedded in them. Whereas, there's a lot going on, but the theme supports the idea, making it easier to understand what you're doing mechanically too. Thinking of like Endless Winter, where there's all these little intricacies to it where you can explain them by, the story you're trying to tell with them.
I try to use a theme sometimes as a teaching aid because some things are going to be easier to
Mm,
process. If I have a wood resource in the game, it would make sense that you go to the forest to get it. Is it
yeah.
thematic? I mean, it's more like logical. Like you hunt
Yeah.
the animal to get the meat. That's logical. It just makes it easier for you to understand and remember the rules of the game. But the funny thing about Endless Winter is I designed it. It was a sci-fi themed game originally, and I designed it pretty.
Oh,
Yeah, I know it was a pretty generic. I think I was settling the moons of Jupiter or something like that. So your tribes people were different types of. There was like an engineer, a pilot, a ranger, et cetera, et cetera. but it just felt so generic, so painfully generic, I would say. I would use the word
Mm.
painfully. Every time I played it, just my own eyes would roll when I would say, "Oh, the pilot flies a starship." I was just, oh, and so I really felt that I needed to up if I was gonna find a publisher for it, I really wanted to find a much cooler theme. And so I did a pretty far swing. I just realized at one point that the mechanics of it actually fit fairly well with Ice Age because those people also went out and explored the unknown and had to kind of survive off the land. And also, they had to develop technologies. They were just primitive technologies to us, but to them, they were very advanced.
Mm.
So then immediately, instead of energy, instead of mining energy crystals or whatever, it was hunting for food, and the technologies became uh, Paleolithic technologies, and the surface of the moon became this map of North American landscape. And it just really gelled well. It's sometimes these things might seem like they're very far apart, but mechanically it really fit like a glove, and I'm so glad that I went that way. I wouldn't have any other theme for it now looking back, but it was sort of up in the air for a while about what it was going to be.
I've played a number of your games. I have Endless Winter. I have Nova Roma. We've played Resurgence. We backed that one. Played Dice Hospital, but my favorite of them all, Harrison just introduced me to this one. What was it, Harrison? A couple months ago, I was at your house. Lock Up, a role player tale. That game is amazing. Something about the interaction between the players and the kind of bluffing and I don't know. There's just a lot of really cool things going on there, and the theme of that one is unique.
Yeah, I really like that one. It found, it really found its place in hearts of players. It wasn't as widely received, as widely liked, and I think it is because of it is highly interactive. I think to some people, the degree to which sometimes you have to outthink and outsmart other people to the degree to which your success depends on it, I think
Hmm.
was something that some people couldn't deal with, right? Because there's really no safe way to play it. There's not like, well, if I don't feel like being highly interactive and highly engaged, I can just kind of do this thing and still do okay. I would say like a game
Yeah.
like Terraforming Mars, for example, you could kind of just play it in the way that you aren't in anybody else's way, and you might not win every time, but you might actually do fairly well. And I don't think lockup it's possible. Like you have to do it. But I'm really glad
Mhm.
that you liked it. I really like the design. It's kind of one of a kind. I've never made a game of that type again. And that one, yeah, that one was, I think, mechanics first as well. I just thought of this bluffing mechanic and I sort of built the game around it.
Cool. I mean, that's my bread and butter, that interaction there. It's like that's why you play board games with other people. But I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. There's
Right.
a lot of gamers that prefer the more solo approach.
Yeah, they want like a more
Yeah,
chill social experience, right? Where like, well, it is a thinky game, but we're all racing alongside each other, and we aren't really bumping
yeah.
into each other. Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's been great getting to know you, and we're excited to have you join us for our list of food games. Shall we move on to the featured topic?
Yeah, I'm hungry. Let's go.
Let's do it.
We're talking about games about or featuring food this week. And Harrison, I have to say, this one was a doozy. I had to really dig in because I was looking at Feast for Odin all week thinking, oh, that'd be so easy. But I've covered it a million times. And so I went full food on this one. I see you guys did too. Um, in order to determine who goes first on Adamantly Analog, we like to do a first player rule from a board game. And this one comes from Foodies by Simon. And the rule is the player who most recently ate at an international restaurant. What do you guys got?
Now, I guess it's going to depend on what you consider international, right?
I was just gonna say I went to a sushi restaurant. So if that's international, then I would be that would have been like 2 weeks ago. Or I didn't know by international maybe you mean like outside like it has to be outside of US.
I don't know. Does the rule book clarify, Harrison? In
It
Foodies?
doesn't. No, that's kind of what I was leaving up to interpretation here. What do you got, Corey?
I'd say sushi counts. I think international food, even if it's in the States, it counts. For me, we order Indian from like the best Indian restaurant of all time. It's actually here in Wauwatosa, Stan. So I know you're not too far away, but India Garden, if you're into Indian food, it is fantastic. We're gonna order it tomorrow night. So it's been about a month since our last time there. So I'm definitely out of the running, but I wanted to shout out. That's
Well,
the
if we're
best
counting
place on the planet.
sushi, then I think I've got it because we went out for sushi at for lunch yesterday. So that was unintentional.
Sure,
Sweet.
sure it was.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All
Harrison, you're
right.
starting us off then.
Yeah, I'll start us off. So my first game is one that deals in the trading and acquisition and production of food, lots of it. This is 2017's Clans of Caledonia. Clans of Caledonia is a bigger Euro game in which you play a Scottish clan in was it the Scottish Highlands, and you are building out settlements to produce uh, grain and milk and wool, and then converting those into beer and bread and cheese and other things like that. Using those to fulfill contracts, and all the while playing this kind of area control type thing where you're trying to spread out and claim different territories to have better reach to more stuff across the board. There's a lot going on here, and I've never played this one in person. It's only done on BGA, but I played a lot of games at BGA, especially at the start of the pandemic. So this one, there's a lot of food in it. It's got lots of nice little food pieces, bits, and lots of cows and cheese tokens to put out on the board as well. So lots of food bits all over the place. I got hungry playing this one a couple times for sure.
Don't eat the bits, Harrison.
Have either of you tried this one?
I have not.
I have played Clans of Caledonia, and I do enjoy it a lot. I think it's a really fun it's a really fun game. I like their market system. Buying and selling stuff feels very satisfying, and the engine building also feels very satisfying. So everything in it gels together really well.
Someone once told me that this game was similar to like Terra Mystica or Gaia Project. Is there any similarity there, or was that just like a wild statement? There's a hex grid, and I see some kind of area control-ish thing going on. I don't know.
I would say like I can see why people would say that. I don't know that it's necessarily that close, but you're on a hex grid, you're claiming things on the board. Your production is determined by the things that are revealed by taking things off your player board. So if you've got two little wheat
Yeah.
markers,
Okay.
two farms on the board, then you can see the wheat production underneath those pieces. So I can see some similarities there.
Okay. Well, I've got to try this one. It's been recommended to me many, many times, but it is a heavy and expensive game, so it's not an easy one to get to the table.
Look for it at Gamehole Con.
Oh yeah.
Local Dan Cunningham was the editor on it, and he does a lot of stuff for Thunderworks now, doing like 3D inserts designs. But he has a jumbo version that he made on his own. So it's got big board, big pieces, and everything, and that's a lot of fun to see on the table. Even better if you get a chance to play it. So
Right.
that is my first pick, Clans of Caledonia from Karma Games. All right, Stan, I'm going to pass it off to you. What is your first food game?
So I started with oldie, goodie, and the one that's fairly well known. It's Sushi Go, all the way back to distant 2013 by Game Right. Mass market game, but I think it's a good game nonetheless. I played it way back when it came out, and I still play it on occasion, and I still like it. So Sushi Go, for those who aren't familiar, is a very classic card drafting game, which means you dealt a hand of cards and you are picking one card, putting it face down, and then you passing the rest either clockwise or counterclockwise. You do it until you have a certain number of cards, and then you're just collecting different kinds of sets. Some sets want pairs, some sets want most of something, some sets want another card on top of it. So it's very straightforward. The reason I chose it is because I think it's a good example of how theme helps you kind of remember the rules. For example, they have a card called Wasabi, which is not worth anything. But if you play a sushi on top of it, it triples its value. So if you just end up with wasabi alone, it's worthless, right? Because who just wants to go to a sushi restaurant and eat a bunch of wasabi? Nobody. That's who. And stuff like that. It just makes sense. It's got cute anthropomorphic kind of sushi that's like smiling and winking at you. Um, you know, it's a classic game, and it does make you, it makes you hungry for sushi afterwards, and so that it succeeds on that level as well. And I don't know, have you guys played this one?
Technically, I've only played Sushi Go Party, but I don't know the
Really?
difference between the two. Probably just Sushi Go with more stuff in it, right?
Yeah, yeah, up to 8 players too, I think, instead of
Okay.
the up to 4 or 5 for the base game. I've played a ton of this game. I've got both versions actually. I think I lent my Sushi Go Party to my brother. Oh no, he gave it back. I've got it both right here. Yeah, I've got both versions, and we usually just pull out Sushi Go because it's a nicer form factor, and the cards don't spill all over the place in that game right tin. But I like having the other one on hand because it's super easy to teach, get to the table. Like you said, the theme helps a lot in selling the rules of the game. Um, yeah, it's a great pick. If you didn't do it, I was gonna pick it.
This one is a classic for good reason. It is like the perfect introduction to drafting games.
Yeah, you can make it much simpler than that.
And it's the perfect introduction to sushi too. We played this with my father-in-law, and then ordered from a Chinese restaurant a couple weeks later, and he just ordered a bunch of nigiri off the menu without knowing what nigiri was. The bill was like insane, and he ended up with like, I don't know, 6 ounces of fish at the end of the day because he got all the fancy stuff and was very displeased with his choices.
It's educational.
Yeah, it is. Oh, I gotta send you guys this because I'm messing around on the BGG page. Have you seen the German release, 2014 release of Sushi Go by a company called Zoch, Zoch? The Here, I'll put it in the Discord, and unfortunately for those that are listening, we'll have no reference for what I'm talking about, but I'll leave it in the show notes maybe. There is a version of this game where the cards look like Aqua Teen Hunger Force. They have these these like gangly little teeth and weird melted faces
Oh,
and things. It's kind of
sick.
awesome.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I'll have
Yeah,
to scoop that copy up if we can find it on the black
I
market.
do I do like me some Equitine Hunger Force.
the pudding is absolutely it's just horrendous.
All right, so that is Sushi Go 2013 from Game Right. Okay, my first choice, like I said, I had to dig in, but durian from Oink Games. Durian is a fruit, and if you guys have never encountered a durian in your life, I would advise against it. it's, it's like this large, spiky fruit. It's got a hard casing and sort of a custard-like inside. When you carve into a durian, I can't describe it any other way but gasoline. It just smells like pungent gasoline in the air. It is like a terrible smell. You guys ever been around one?
I have not.
I've seen it. I don't think I've tasted it ever.
Yeah, and I didn't eat any of it, but it was like in the area while someone was eating one. This was in music school, and one of my Malaysian friends had brought one and just stank up the whole floor. It was like it was disgusting. But anyways, that's not the point here. Durian is a game by Oink Games, which means it comes in a little tiny pocket-sized box for like $20 or something. And each player has an inventory that is unknown to them because it's placed on a card that is facing outright towards the other players. Collectively, all of the inventories that each player has combines to be like the shop's inventory. And so we're talking like a number of fruits pictured on each player's card. And so you might have, as a group, room for like 5 bananas and 3 strawberries, but you only know most of that information because yours is hidden to you. And so each player's turn, they're taking another card off the deck and flipping it face up. The cards have two sides, they're almost like dominoes, and you're deciding which of the two sides you can place in the filled orders zone. And you can only fill orders that you have inventory to fill. So you kind of go and go and go until you think you're running out of orders. And once you think the person before you has placed an order that cannot be filled, you grab this nice little yellow bell from the middle of the table and you ring that thing and check the results. And so if you screw up 7 times in either way, then you lose the game. There's
Mm.
something about, I can't remember. There's something about like these three gorilla brothers. They're cards that they come up and they just kind of like meddle with the system, either flipping cards in different directions or just goofing things around. But it's got a fun art style, fun theme, and there's nothing better than ringing the bell on someone.
Yeah, no, I like the description of it. I like how I don't know, unusual and random some of it sounds, but it does sound like you would have fun playing it.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely like kind of deduce what's on your card after a while because people are being like, maybe they're being a little more cautious with certain fruits, or maybe they're going for it with other fruits, and it might lead you to believe that you have, something on your card that shows a large quantity of something that's coming up in the orders a lot.
An
So,
actual little bell in the box.
yeah, and a little tiny bell in the box.
Awesome.
That is Durian from Oink Games.
Yeah, that durian looks super cool. That production looks beautiful. And I had the same question as Stan. There's a little bell in it. That's cool.
Yep, a little bell in it.
Very curious.
What's like the most unique board game component that you've had in the box that wasn't just superfluous kind of gimmick? I would say that comes pretty close. A functional
Yeah.
bell. Yeah, I like it.
What's the game that has a little slap bracelet in it? You guys know what I'm talking about? They're those little bracelets
Yeah,
that roll when you slap them
Yeah.
on your wrist. They
but is that one like a first player or something?
Yeah.
I don't know how functional that is though.
yeah, probably not much. I don't know.
Yeah, because there's a lot of crazy stuff that people get as first player token, but since literally anything can be first player token, I find that kind of falls in the category of superfluous. But if you need to signal, the bell is what you signal with, so that is functional.
And it's like orders up, so
Yeah,
thematic too. All right, okay.
thematic and functional and fun.
That might be a podcast topic, Harrison. You hearing this?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah,
We
for
gotta figure out what
sure.
game that slap bracelet comes in though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one with a magic wand too. Oh, man. Okay, I've got ideas. This is gonna be a good one.
All right.
All right. Anyways, moving on. Harrison, what's your second pick?
All right. So my second pick is another game right light game from 2017. This is Go Nuts for Donuts. I've mentioned this one at least once before on the podcast. It's a light kind of blind bidding game, blind auction game, where you are presented with a set of donuts, and then everyone's simultaneously going to pick which one they want using a card that they hide, and then it's revealed simultaneously. If no one else tried to grab the donut that you wanted, you get the donut. But if two people go for the same donut, neither of you gets it, and it's gone.
Ooh.
So it's a fairly light and can be a little frustrating to play sometimes, especially at a high player count, if you keep just butting heads with the same person over and over. But I played a lot of this on BGA a couple years ago because I was playing board games at work, playing or leading a team time, and this was one of the ones that we played a lot of. So I think I've got close to like 100 games of Go Nuts for Donuts logged on Board Game Arena. And it's a good like background while you're chatting thing too. And then you can get pretty in each other's faces about like, oh, I'm totally gonna psych you out, and I'm gonna go for that donut that I know you want. Um, there's a lot of fun behind this one. Have either of you tried Go Nuts for Donuts?
I want to say that maybe I have. There's quite a few. Now that I just realized that there's quite a few games out there featuring donuts. So it might have
Oh yeah.
been that one, and a lot of them have to do with collection of sets of donuts or making a box of donuts. I can't. I might have played it, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, like Sushi Go, this one also has a cutesy art style with little cute faces on the donuts. Like the donut holes are just a pile of little donut holes, each with their own face on them. Um, I'm interested to see if that German publisher did a Aqua Teen Hunger Force version of this. Probably not.
It's always polite for your food to wink and smile at you as you eat it.
Not at all horrifying.
No, totally normal.
Speaking of the German publisher, I did find that Aqua Teen Hunger Force looking version on their website. It's only 15 euros, so you get your shipping and handling in there, and it's really not as bad as I thought. You just need to be able to speak German to read the cards. And no, I'm not seeing Go Nuts for Donuts on here, Harrison. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I got a pitch for him then.
There you go.
Cool. Well, that is my second pick. Go Nuts for Donuts. All right, Stan, you want to hit us with your number two?
Two, I kind of picked these games to be kind of opposite of each other. So my second game is Viticulture, which is from the same year as Sushi Go, and it's Stonemeyer Games, of course, also fairly well known. but sort of the opposite of Sushi Go, where Sushi Go is easy to teach, kind of almost filler weight game. Viticulture isn't like an event. You are basically building and running a winery, and you are doing everything from planting the grapes, harvesting them, making the wine, aging the wine, and selling the wine. So you're doing the entire process of winemaking um, via a clever worker placement mechanic. I like that game a lot because the theme of food is so strong, and you really get to you really get to do things that you would need to do if I think if you ran a winery. You're selecting the sorts of grapes to plant because the sort of wine you're gonna make is gonna depend on the sort of grape you plant that you planted, and then you have this difficult choice of whether aging your wine longer and the increased value of it outweighs the fact that you aren't able to get something for it right away.
Mm.
It's just very well integrated theme and mechanic. It's once you once you learn all the rules, which the game is medium weight. There's definitely a few rules. I think it's a very smooth experience too. I'm a big fan of that one. If people want to play a Euro that doesn't feel bone dry and mechanical, I always and also doesn't feature some sort of a conquest or area control in some way. I always say, have you tried viticulture?
Yeah, that game is kind of like the cornerstone of the process games. And what I mean by that is you're doing some kind of like production line, and there's steps to the production. You understand what needs to be done, even loosely if you're not a winemaker. And so the game challenges you to kind of go through that and plan ahead, which is something you naturally have to do for Euro games in the first place. And so it's kind of like weighing out the value of making that process longer for more quality products, or going for short gains. And I think he does a really good job of doing that in and like you said, it's not too hard. I think it does a good job of doing that in a sort of a lighter weight.
Definitely, if they chose to make it a lot more difficult, I think they could definitely have done that and made it like a Lacerda style game where
Yeah.
everything is, yeah, which I'm glad they didn't. It's just it has the parts that it needs to have, we'll say that.
Been on my want to play list for a very long time, and I am embarrassed to say I haven't gotten it off that list.
Yeah, you can play this one at 5, right? I think I've played it at 5 players, maybe with an expansion. And I remember the experience was, this game is sweet, and it was going great. And like 2 hours into the game, someone played a card that just did not seem balanced for the number of players, because it was one of those things where they got something from each player. So the
Oh,
gain from
sure.
a single card just felt completely out of whack there. And it was like the game was over at that point. That guy just won with one play. So something to look out for. And I think maybe, I don't know, maybe there's suggestions on how to handle that in forums and things, but that kinda turned our group off to it initially, but I like the game.
Yeah, these things sip through. In games like that, there's sometimes a card slides in that gets missed during playtesting because it's highly specific to a certain situation. And usually you'll find
Mhm.
errata and things like that and BGG, and definitely the game is pretty deterministic. We're speaking of viticulture, but the cards add randomness to it. And it could be sometimes you could get the exact right card you want, which can feel lucky, or you might not get the card that synergizes very well, which can feel unlucky. So I definitely think that that could be viewed as a negative. But I think overall on the theme side of things, I think the good outweighs the bad on that one. Speaking about my number two pick on the food games, which is Viticulture, and it's Stonemaier Games 2013.
I am gonna bring us home with a card game, and Harrison, if you haven't played this one, this seems like it would be right up your alley because it's cards with numbers and colors, which as we talked about recently is a Harrison specialty, right?
For some reason, yeah, those are just the games that I'm drawn to right now.
Yeah, well, me too. I think you're bringing me into the fold here because I'm having a lot of fun with them. Spicy, Spicy is a 2020 game from the publisher Heidelbar, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Heidelbar. Do you guys know how to handle an umlaut in German on an A?
Yeah, it's either Heidelbar or Heidelbeer.
Heidelbeer. Okay. And the game is, well, actually, I just have to read this description off the page because it's very bizarre. But you're looking at a bunch of cards with these very cool Chinese painted images of cats eating very spicy foods and having extreme reactions to them, basically. It says, once upon a time, 3 big cats became exhausted fighting to be top cat. They agreed to quit the fight and spice up their 9 lives with a hot spice eating contest. Alas, everyone was soon cheating, so the cats invented a very hot, often tearful bluffing game. So I don't know if there's any truth to this lore or if it's something created specifically for this game, but it made for some really awesome art and like some really fun images. What you do in the game is you are playing basically a game of BS. If you know the traditional like 52 card game BS, where you're playing cards face down and claiming them that they are something or the other, and your opponent's calling BS on you. That's the idea here too. There's 3 suits, and each suit represents a different kind of pepper. There's chilies, there's wasabi, and there's pepper, like in a pepper shaker. And then there's numbers 1 through 10 in each of those suits. And so all you're doing is you're going around the table, placing a card that is higher than the previously played card in the same suit. And if you get called on a bluff, there is a penalty for that. And the person that calls you on the bluff gets all of the cards in the stack. So you're trying to collect a whole bunch of face down cards. Some of the cool things that make this game interesting, though, are, well, first of all, the art. I've already mentioned that. It's very neat. But there are wild cards in the game that are only wild in certain capacities. Like there is a card that is numbered 1 through 10 but doesn't have any suit. There is a card called the Allspice, which has all suits but no values. So when you call someone on a bluff, you have to say whether you think they're bluffing in terms of the number or the suit. It can't be both. So you could get away by sneaking in one of those quote unquote wild cards if you don't get called on the bluff that you actually made. So again, pretty simple card game. There's some variations on it that come in the box, but at its core, it's basically just a game of BS with this very unique theme.
Yeah, the production on this is gorgeous. The artwork, and it looks like the foiling on the box, but the card's a little bit foiled too.
Yeah, really cool looking cards.
Yeah, I mean it's available. I find it on Amazon, and it's not too bad of a price. So yeah, I think that's a cool card game to add to like a simple, easy card games you can teach your family that everyone can enjoy. You don't have to be a board gamer to like it.
Yeah, and stupid me, you just mentioned that it's on Amazon for a good price, so I just went on Amazon and typed in spicy. But I forgot that the world is not revolving around board games, so I got a lot of spicy meats, spicy cheese balls. Cool. So to wrap up our list, we have quite a few good food games. I think we've got a 6-course meal here, in fact. Stan picked Sushi Go and Viticulture. Harrison picked Clans of Caledonia and Go Nuts for Donuts. And I picked Durian and Spicy. All things considered, I think you can knock all those out in one day. One food marathon with maybe a potluck.
Yeah, that sounds like a good time.
Well, a lot of these are pretty light.
We've reached the end of the podcast. Thanks everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Stan, do you have any upcoming projects, Kickstarters, designs, or anything else you'd like to shout out?
Yeah, a couple of things. My game Rurik, Dawn of Kiev, should be heading back to GameFound. I think they got a pre-launch page, and that should be super sweet. It's a 2nd edition, updated art, updated rules, extra content. So keep an eye out on that. And if you go to Essen Spiel, there's going to be a Minos expansion that I designed for board and dice for my game Minos, which is cool Euro on the heavy side. So check it out if you like heavier Euros. And Queen Games should have a Propeller Islands game, which is kind of the other way. It's a light Euro. And you can play that hopefully with your family members. So those are the ones that are going to be out there this fall and in the near future.
Awesome.
Oh, I did not know about the Rurik 2nd edition. I had heard rumors that it was in the works. I am so excited for that, Stan. I love
it's
Rurik.
officially announced. You can see the launch page and everything.
Wow. Oh, and another that's how I met Kirk and Keith. Was I helped Kirk playtest Rurik for you guys the Stone and Blade.
That's right. I think I knew that.
Is this all new art and all new components?
Most of it is going to be new. I think some of the existing miniatures are already so good. I think is going to be the same miniatures, but there are new miniatures in it because we're adding myth, what we call myth and fable. So it's kind of like a fairy tale creatures that can live in the world if you choose, and then they will have their own rules and consequences in the game world.
Well, we'll make sure to
Cool.
put a link to that GameFound campaign page in the show notes. So if you're interested in seeing more of that, this art looks gorgeous. I'm very excited for that.
Well, Stan, it's been great to have you on. Thanks for sharing your extensive encyclopedic knowledge of food games with us today.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me over.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks again, Stan, and thanks everyone for listening. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Adamantly Analog is Corey Murphy and Harrison Dunn. Original themes and bumper music by Corey Murphy. Reach us at adamantlyanalog@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.